Rolex?
Omega.
Beautiful.
From Pierce Brosnan to Daniel Craig, and whoever takes up the mantle of 007 as it moves to Amazon, there's been one constant for James Bond since 1995's GoldenEye, the Omega Seamaster on his wrist. In this video, we'll explore the untold story of how James Bond became an Omega man, before providing a detailed rundown of the Seamaster's role in Bond films over the past 30 years. Watches of Espionage is curated by a former CIA case officer with a passion for timepieces. On the WOE YouTube channel, we explore the intersection of watches and the military, intelligence, and national security. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be informed when we release new videos.
I like a woman who enjoys pulling rank.
If you grew up with the James Bond of the 1990s, the link between 007 and Omega feels etched in stone. But long before he strapped on a Seamaster, author Ian Fleming's literary 007 wore a Rolex, with Sean Connery following suit in 1962's Dr. No, marking the first time Bond wore a watch in film. Beyond the brief appearance of a Breitling top time in 1965's Thunderball, and Roger Moore's Hamilton Pulsar and a string of obscure Seiko models throughout his 7-film tenure as 007, Bond was decidedly a Rolex man. And let's not forget, Fleming, a real-life intelligence officer, wore an Explorer 1016. So how did Her Majesty's top-secret agent make the jump from Rolex to Omega, brands that would have been considered arch-rivals at the time? The link between Omega and Bond has grown to become the most valuable promotional relationship between horology and film. But it started innocently enough, and, allegedly, without a single dollar changing hands.
40,500,000 all in.
Bond's shift from Rolex to Omega happened because of the actions of a single person, a costume designer named Lindy Hemming, who was tasked with outfitting 007 in 1995's GoldenEye. Pierce Brosnan was a brand new Bond, taking over from Timothy Dalton, whose final Bond film, License to Kill, languished at the box office in 1989. This was also the first Bond film made after the fall of the Soviet Union. After 6 years and a lukewarm reception for Bond's previous outing, some wondered whether the storied franchise had run its course. For Bond to continue, he would have to evolve. Like every other Bond actor's first movie, one of the goals of the film was to reintroduce the legendary character through the lens of that era. Thinking back to Roger Moore's first outing in Live and Let Die, Bond wielded a revolver as opposed to his beloved PPK, sipped bourbon instead of a shaken-not-stirred martini, and smoked cigars rather than cigarettes. While these are minor adjustments to the layperson, they constitute significant shifts to the stalwart fan. James Bond is about the details. This process inspired Hemming to take a step back from Rolex for Bronson's Bond in GoldenEye. As she explained in a New York Times article, there hadn't been a Bond for a few years, and I was given the opportunity to rethink him. I wanted him to be more modern and European. With that motive in mind, Hemming looked to those closest to her for guidance, including friends of her father who were British Royal Navy men and preferred Omega. They were gentlemen, good guys, ready for anything. Omega was perfect for a naval commander who dived and rescued people. In Hemming's words, Rolex was not the brand of the time for a man like Bond in 1995. The Rolex watch had become rather flash. Rolex was part of a city boy culture. It didn't seem appropriate for Bond at that moment. What's most important, however, is the fact that the original deal supposedly did not include paid product placement. Hemming later recalled, "There was no product placement incentive in 1995 whatsoever. I went to them, and of course, they were interested. But it was no more than helping us. They gave us the watches for nothing." For the franchise as a whole, which has been massively impacted by Omega's marketing dollars ever since, this was a pivotal moment. In this instance, the personal preference of a savvy designer in Hemming led to a watch selection tailor-made for a specific moment in Bond's history, later becoming a marketing engine that would help to keep the series alive and create a massive boom in sales for Omega. Let's take a closer look at the Omega watches worn by Bond over the past 3 decades in a total of 9 films. More than just keeping time, in many instances, Bond's Omega watches also include improbable gadgets designed by Q Branch.
So you're not dead.
Hello, Q. I've missed you.
Omega's first appearance on 007's wrist took place in 1995's GoldenEye, when Pierce Brosnan wore a quartz version of the Seamaster Professional that had been released only 2 years earlier in 1993. The 41mm Seamaster, reference 2541.80, also did double duty as a spy gadget, with Bond famously using the Q-modified Seamaster's laser-cutting functionality to escape a train wired to explode. In Tomorrow Never Dies, Bronson's second outing as 007, and likely the first instance of paid product placement for Omega, the secret agent opted for the automatic version of the Seamaster Professional, reference 2531.80. Further evidence of Omega's marketing dollars, the Seamaster featured prominently in the opening credits and also contained a detonator that, as is so often the case, helps Bond out of a very specific jam. For 1999's The World Is Not Enough, Bond once again relies on the automatic Seamaster Professional, this time equipped with a light and a slick integrated grappling hook 007 uses to save both himself and Dr. Christmas Jones, expertly portrayed by Denise Richards.
So isn't it time you unwrapped your present?
Oh, I think so.
Die Another Day marked the final outing for Brosnan as Bond. As was the custom during this era, it wouldn't have been Bond's watch without some silly gadgets, with the Die Another Day Seamaster serving up a detonator pin controlled by the bezel, as well as yet another laser.
Warned me this would happen.
That's why you tried so hard not to be interested.
The introduction of Daniel Craig as 007 in Casino Royale punctuated sweeping change for Bond, with Craig's version serving as a more rugged, gritty, and visceral take on the character. Omega was present and accounted for, of course, with Craig wearing not only a Seamaster Professional, but also a Planet Ocean, a completely new Seamaster model family unveiled the previous year. A sign of changing times for 007, the watches were, for better or worse, gadget-free.
Now the whole world's gonna know that you died scratching my balls.
By 2008's Quantum of Solace, Bond was all in on the Planet Ocean, wearing a 42mm version on a stainless steel bracelet throughout the film. Again, leaning into Craig's new portrayal of the character, the watch is once again without gadgets, but does feature prominently on screen on several occasions.
They found motor oil in his stomach. Does that mean anything to you?
Wish I could help.
2012's Skyfall is a gritty look into Bond's typically overlooked family history.
We couldn't let that go.
Ever mindful of the incredible consumer influence commanded by a spot on 007's wrist, Omega equips Bond with two different watches, including not only a Planet Ocean once again, but also a non-diving Aqua Terra, one of modern Bond's first and only appearances without a diving-specific watch.
Latest thing from Q Branch. It's called a radio.
As Bond attempts to unravel the shadowy transnational organization Spectre, a couple of very interesting things happen with 007's watch. First, we have the unveiling of yet another subfamily within the modern Seamaster collection, the vintage-inspired Seamaster 300. What's more, the watch worn by Daniel Craig in the film is also a special edition, the Seamaster 300 Spectre Limited Edition, with faux-aged indices, a novel 12-hour bezel, and a nylon strap. There had been special 007 editions of Seamaster watches produced before in conjunction with previous Bond films, but on screen, Bond typically donned a production model. Finally, Spectre saw the return of Bond's watch as a spy gadget, helping to explosively rescue Bond and his love interest, Dr. Madeleine Swann, from the clutches of the evil Ernst Stavro Blofeld.
So, James, why did you come?
I came here to kill you.
Coming a full 6 years after Spectre, 2021's No Time to Die is Bond's most recent film and the final on-screen appearance for Daniel Craig. To mark the occasion, Omega did one of its biggest overhauls yet for a Bond watch, unveiling the Seamaster Diver 300M 007 edition, with Bond once again wearing a 007 edition on the wrist in the film. The 007 edition was executed in Grade 2 titanium with a titanium mesh bracelet, presented without a date function, equipped with faux vintage luminescent material, and complete with a broad arrow on the dial and caseback, theoretically denoting the watch as property of the British Ministry of Defense. Of course, Craig's final appearance as Bond wouldn't have been complete without one more spy gadget watch moment, and the Seamaster helps Bond by detonating another key explosion. At the moment, Bond's future is uncertain, with the rights to the franchise recently having been sold to Amazon from Eon Productions, which was responsible for virtually all of Bond's films. While we don't know who will take up the mantle of James Bond next, we're excited to see where Bond's partnership with Omega will go. What's your favorite watch worn by 007? Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, drop a comment, and hit the bell icon to be informed when we release new videos. For even more, check out our website, watchesofespionage.com, for more content as well as our collection of watch straps and other purpose-built tools designed for our community. Until next time, happy hunting.